So hi dear students, I'm so happy to see you back after an exam, and I'm sure you have given the exam in tough scenarios. There were talk about postponements of the exam. There were talk about pandemic, lockdown. It was a really tough time to give the MCI screening exam this year in June 2021, and but I think once you've given the exam, it is done and over with. You can take a say a relief, a sigh of relief, and say like I did it. And so let's take some moments to look at what were the questions from radiology in this year's paper, and what were the possible answers, and how to look at the paper, and what was the paper all about. So we did a talk in the last 2 days with our students who appeared for MCI screening exam, the students of the DAMS Masterplan or the DAMS crash course on the eMedicos app, and we got to know quite a bit about the exam. So I thought I'll also, in addition to looking at the radiology questions, in this video also address upon what the paper was all about and what is my feeling about the paper. Number one thing that I feel here is that there was a lot of stress on the usual suspects. Now, what I mean by the usual suspects is, I think this is the policy that you can also apply even if you are appearing for the December exam this year. And yes, I feel that in December there will be a MCI screening exam. And after that, in 2022, there is always a doubt about will we have a next exam or what would happen. But till then, I think in December 2021, I think there should be a separate MCI screening exam. So what I feel is that if you notice, there has been from every subject, like for example, if I look at radiology, the things that I usually talk about in the class, like in every of my class, I will tell them, okay, this is an extradural, this is subdural, this is pneumothorax, this is pneumoperitoneum, and this are like usual suspects for an undergraduate. And like I'll always talk about things like look at the basal ganglia anatomy, where is the putamen, where is the choroid nucleus, and we saw all of those questions in this year's exam. So, and I think when I talked to other teachers as well, and I found out that most of the teachers were of the opinion that this year's paper was more about the usual suspects. And I think that is where I also see the most of the students who came back after the exam and who talked to us, who were a member of the DAMS master plan on the eMedicos or the DAMS crash course. We found that most of them had an idea that okay, they'd done well, and they done well because the most of the things were from the class, was covered in the classes itself. So that gives us one of the strategies that probably whenever the government is looking at a change, and when they want to transition from one format of exam to another format of the exam, they usually want to give one or two papers which are more of the usual types, so that a lot of people can pass and they can start with a clean slate with a new pattern in the future. So usually whenever this happens, I feel that even the December exam should have even similar kind of usual suspects in the paper. And another thing that was very typical of this exam, which has been typical of the MCI screening in the past as well, that the paper 1 was more of one-liners, while the paper 2 had more clinical integrated vignettes. But I thought, something that I felt here was that even in the paper 1, that if we talk about anatomy, there are like two parts of anatomy. There is a part of anatomy which is more about origin of muscle, insertion, and the classic anatomy, and there's a part which is more clinically integrated. Like clinical integrated would mean like if you have a posterior dislocation of hip, what nerve would be injured. Like that is like a clinical integration of the relationship. Sciatic nerve is located posterior to the hip. So in those kind of things, I think this year's paper had more clinically integrated or clinically inclined basic sciences in the paper. Same holds true even for biochemistry, I think. And I think this is also one of the thing that has been talked about multiple times on DAMS Daily channel, that with next on the horizon, the exam boards are already looking to go towards the more horizontal and vertical integration. And we have seen the same with this year's upcoming NEET PG exam, which is scheduled to happen after August 31st. That this time in the NEET PG exam, they have not mentioned any subject-wise distribution. Again, a hint towards integrated questions rather than the core basic sciences, which are more factual. But all said and done, this paper was easier part was the paper 1, more one-liners, and the paper 2 was the one where you had more clinical vignette style. But these clinical vignettes were not as long as you would expect in USMLE. They were short clinical vignettes. And there was emphasis on subjects like surgery and obs and gynae, which was very important. PSM was very important. Medicine is always there, and ophthalmology and ENT also had good representation in this year's paper. Another thing that I noted was a lot of questions were visuals, and that is where radiology also comes into play, that we had a lot of radiology visuals in the paper. But most of the visuals were very straightforward. That means that if you had seen them in a class, you could actually do it very easy. So the message is clear here, that if you are following a classroom program, or if you are doing a, so in DAMS on the eMedicos app, we have two kind of programs. One which is a live teaching, which is called as the ultimate live course, and one is a pre-recorded. So if you're aiming for the December exam, you can opt for a master plan, which is pre-recorded. And if you're aiming for further exams, then I would recommend ultimate live course, because thereafter you have to be sure, you have to be at this next level. There are talks about next being having a separate extra paper for the foreign medical graduate. There are talks about foreign medical graduates having a time period of 2 years to do it. We do not know right now what would happen in the end. But as of now, I would want you to be studying. That is one thing I want you to do, that if you are in a third year or second year, I would want you to be studying, and I would want you to be, be aligned with your mentors. So what we will do here is, I would give a broad outline here, that if you are a third year or a fourth year student right now in a broad university, and thinking about the MCI screening or next, I would recommend the ultimate live course on the eMedicos app, because I would want you to be mentored at length with live teaching. If you are appearing for the next in the December exam, then I would say go for the pre-recorded master plan version, because you have less time at hand. And if you have given this year's exam, the June exam, I'm sure, with the kind of exam it was, I think this time the passing percentage should be good. And I'm very optimistic about that most of the students should pass this year's exam. I think this paper was very standard and very distributed kind of things. Usual clinical diseases, usual clinical things were stressed upon more. And this was also reflected in the radiology questions. If you look at the radiology question, there were some themes. And these themes will be useful even if you are appearing for December exam. So, I thought I'll divide the themes for you so that you have an idea, okay, this was the paper all about, and this is what you can do. There were at least 4 or 5 questions which were linked with GI and hepatobiliary surgery. Now, how do you imagine GIT? You imagine esophagus. So imagine a question on achalasia cardia, almost every time there. Diffuse esophageal spasm, a perforation peritonitis, or pancreatic pseudocyst, small bowel obstruction. Okay, so can you imagine diverticulosis? So can you imagine there was a lot of GI surgery integration in the paper, GI and hepatobiliary integration, and the radiology images were, primarily for that sector. And second theme that I think is very important for you to understand is emergency. Or if you scroll back on the DAMS Daily channel and you see any of my video about MCI screening, I will say, please look at pneumothorax and pneumoperitoneum. And this time both of them were there. Both of them are classic questions in the MCI screening. And another thing that you will often hear me say would be, look at EDH, SDH. So this time they had a EDH image in the paper. So emergencies are important: pneumothorax, pneumoperitoneum, extradural hematomas. These images are very important from your exam perspective. Third theme, which has been there in the last few MCI screening as well as a few NEET PG exams, is radiological anatomy. They might give you a section of a body part. They might show you chest, abdomen, or brain, and they might ask you to label a few parts. This time they had a brain axial image to label the parts. So that is again a possible style of questions. And it is a standard MCI screening pattern. Don't get confused. This is not a new pattern. It is a standard thing to have a radiological anatomy question in the paper. This time the unique thing I felt was that, and I saw that in the last NEET PG as well, they're putting 1 or 2 sinus x-rays or ENT related x-rays. So questions on ENT were plenty in this paper. ENT ophthalmology was represented. So there were a few x-rays also from the ENT department in the paper, which I think was integrated with ENT. And some classic signs were there, like silhouette sign, or something like a pelvic calcification, some classic appearances which are often asked. So they were also there in the paper. So radiology questions were plenty this time, and all the visuals were very straightforward, doable. But I will give you an idea. Some of the images that I would have collected may be different from what they were in the exam, because I am only dependent on the recall of the students. But I want you to get a hang of it. Okay, this was the topic in the exam, and maybe the patient could be different, but the disease that I will show was what we got from the recall from the students. And I always want to remind students that in MCI screening, they always have a few questions on radiation physics and radiation therapy. Like in my every class, I talk about radioactive iodine, and it was there in this year's exam. Radiation physics, there was radiation sensitivity. 1 or 2 questions are there, and I'll tell you what those questions were. So if you look at this year's MCI exam, these were the key themes for radiology in the paper, and these will be probably the themes in the future MCI exam as well. So if you are a December MCI screening aspirant, you can note them down in your notebook. Let's look at the images. So one of the image in the exam looked like this. You can see tertiary non-propulsive contractions giving rise to a corkscrew appearance, and the answer to the question was diffuse esophageal spasm. Diffuse esophageal spasm. Okay, I hope all of you got it right. And second image, which we always talk about, these are all there in your DAMS image book as well, in the master plan as well. Both the images are there. So you had a dilated esophagus, which was having bird beak like tapering at the G junction. This was, you all know this, achalasia cardia. And almost every time. So even if I'm, I start my class, I will say, okay, please see giant cell tumor, achalasia cardia, pneumothorax, pneumoperitoneum, EDH. These are like the usual suspect for an undergraduate, any exam you give. So the paper was about usual suspects, and that is where I think this time the pass percentage should be good. I wish you all the best. All my my best wishes are with all of you. And another of the usual suspect, you can see there is gas below the right diaphragm. So pneumoperitoneum, perforation peritonitis, one of the x-rays, very important, very often repeated, and I don't want you to get it wrong. And in this x-ray you saw the large bowel is not seen, the small bowel is seen centrally placed, dilated, some air fluid levels. And I also want you to see they are like forming something like a step ladder. And the question was, are we looking at large bowel obstruction? No, because the large bowel is not dilated. In large bowel obstruction, the dilated loop will be peripheral. In small bowel, they are central. And plus, if you notice the small bowel loops, they are all having those folds. These are what are called as the volvulae conniventis. So you have the jejunal fold. So this was a jejunal obstruction, or we can say a small bowel obstruction. So one of the choices was about high small bowel, low. So this is jejunal obstruction. So I'll say high small bowel obstruction. And this is a previous repeat from a previous MCI screening exam. It is very often repeated. This is a child with a Bogdelic diaphragmatic hernia. You can see the bowel loops are herniating in continuity from the abdomen into the left thorax, pushing the mediastinum to the other side, and the patient would have scaphoid abdomen and all those things. It is a typical congenital diaphragmatic hernia X-ray, and it is a previous repeat. So I would want you to mark it for your future as well. It is a possible future MCQ as well. Again, this is a repeat image, very important. This is what is called as the sawtooth appearance. So you can see in this patient's sigmoid colon, there is sawtooth appearance. Sawtooth appearance, I'm sure you marked it correctly. Can you let me know in the comments if you're listening to me? The answer to this question was diverticulosis. So if you will now, those of you who are right now in a DAMS Ultimate Live course and you're preparing for your future next exams or MCI screening exam, you can go through the image book that we have provided to you in the class, or you can go through the video of the master plan. You will find that we've kind of covered everything in this on these topics in your classes. So it is in the image book, and this is the classic image that they usually ask. So don't forget this for your future exam as well. Another classic exam question: a patient with history of pancreatitis 6 weeks after the onset had a CT which looks like this. So the key word here is a well walled off fluid collection after a patient of acute pancreatitis, which is seen after 4 weeks in acute interstitial pancreatitis, we call it as pseudocyst. So this is pseudocyst, and you can see the well-defined wall in relation to the pancreas, and it is pushing the stomach up. It is behind the stomach. This is the typical location. And pseudocyst is one of the classic visuals for most of the exams, so don't forget about it. Okay. But also remember, if in a patient with acute edematous pancreatitis, if you have a fluid collection in the first 4 weeks, then you call it acute peripancreatic collection. After 4 weeks, once it is well walled off, we call it pseudocyst. So the duration given in the question has a meaning, and that was given in this year's question as well. And can I get an answer from you? You can see a NCCT brain. There is a biconvex hematoma pushing the brain. This is biconvex, limited by skull sutures. What do you think? Extradural hematoma due to rupture of middle meningeal artery, which enters the skull through the foramen spinosum. And all you need to do is to differentiate this from subdural. Subdural will be concavo-convex or crescentric in shape. This was a biconvex extradural hematoma, EDH. EDH is again something that is a very, very usual suspect for your exam. So when I say usual suspect, that means even if you're preparing for the next MCI screening or any other exam, if you look at this image, make a note. This is a very usual question for undergraduates. It can be asked in future as well. Okay. Another of the usual suspects, were you able to diagnose in the exam? If yes, let me know in the comment section. What do you see? So you can see the right lung here on the exam. I don't know if it was right or left. I'm just showing you an example. The right lung here is hyperlucent. So the right thorax is hyperlucent, and you can see the collapsed lung. The mediastinum is pushed to the other side. This is the sulcus, CP sulcus is deep. This is a tension pneumothorax with mediastinal shift, and that is one of the characteristic questions in the MCI screening. Even in the NEET PG exam and even in the INI-CT exam, this is one of the most usual suspect for the exams. EDH, pneumothorax, pneumoperitoneum. You can't miss out on these. You can never ever get them wrong. These are 3 free marks that the examiner is giving you every time. Okay. And this is the X-ray that I was talking about. I'm not really sure what the real exam X-ray was. So all I want you to do is I want you to look at this sinus X-ray. These are your maxillary sinuses, and this is your frontal sinus. So you don't see, you can clearly see the maxillary sinus, which are air filled. So this is what is the Waters view. Now many students get confused between Waters view and Cardwell's view. So in the Cardwell's view, I want you to see this is the maxillary sinus, and can you see it is overlapped by the petrous temporal bone. So Cardwell view is not ideal for maxillary sinus. It is good for frontal sinuses, and you can see the maxillary sinuses are obscured by overlap with the petrous temporal bone, while in Waters view, maxillary sinus is clearly seen. So this is the way you differentiate in the exam. So I am not sure what was the real X-ray in the exam, but most of the students were of the opinion that in the exam they had an X-ray of Waters view. Okay. And were you able to answer this? Did you actually need to look at this X-ray for this ENT integrated radiology question, or were you able to do it from the history itself? A trumpet player. So in trumpet player, you see the dilatation of the saccule of the larynx. You can see this is one, and this is the AP view and the lateral view. The answer was laryngocele. And I know that most of you were able to diagnose just on the basis of the history of the patient given, and this has been covered even by the ENT recall on the DAMS Daily YouTube channel. You can actually go through the ENT recall as well, which has been posted by Dr. Deepak Arora on the channel itself. Some classic radiophysics questions which are always there. Most radiosensitive tissue in the body is bone marrow, but that was not in the choice. If it does not say bone, if it says bone, you will not. It is not bone marrow. That is not the answer. The answer is mucosa. So GI mucosa is one which is classically a radiosensitive part, and that was the answer in the paper. And one of the classic questions in radiation physics I always keep telling about is uses of iodine 131 half-life. So you know iodine 131 has a half-life of 8 days. Used for treatment of well-differentiated thyroid malignancies, radioiodine ablation of Graves' disease, and these are the things that you should have in your mind. It emits both beta and gamma rays, and it is the beta rays which destroy the neoplastic tissue. Again, a possible next MCI screening question for you. And talking about the classical signs, this is a classical picture in the exam where you have a pelvic calcification in an old lady. You can see there is some white areas, dark area, white area, dark area. This is what is called as rolled appearance. This is rolled calcification. So these rolls of calcium are seen in fibroid, which was the answer in this question. But many students, they confused with a vesicle calculus. So I thought I'll show you. Vesicle calculus looks like this. It is opaque and it has some like lamellated kind of appearance. Can you see there is a layer over layer lamellated like appearance, but it's dense. It is different from fibroid, which is more rolled. So this was the confusion in the paper, and most of the students were of the opinion in the exam we had a question on the calcified fibroid. And a trick question here was they had an image of cardiac pacemaker and they asked where are the leads located. So I thought I'll show you how a classic cardiac pacemaker looks like. This is how the pacemaker looks like. And you can see the yellow arrow, the lead which is marked by the yellow arrow is in the right atrial appendage, and the lead which is marked by the black arrow is in the right ventricle. So most people had an opinion that this is what was asked in the exam. So answer was right ventricle. They had marked an arrow here. If you do a lateral view, because right sided chambers are anteriorly placed, so you will see the leads going anterior. Okay. So keep it in mind, this is one of the image to be identified in the exam. Sometimes they ask you to identify the image. This is a cardiac pacemaker. Where are the leads? The smaller lead that you see by the yellow arrow is in the right atrial appendage and the black arrow is at the right ventricle. And there is an X-ray showing you obliteration of the right heart border, which is an application of the silhouette sign, which tells you that there is consolidation in the right middle lobe. Right middle lobe, because it is anatomically in contact with the cardiac silhouette, so it obscures the cardiac border, and that is the answer to this question in the exam. These are like the classic picks that were there in the exam. So if you look at this now, you can actually get a feel of it that the paper was very visual, because if you look at the number of images and the radiology questions, it is all about visual. And you can also appreciate that the radiology questions were not purely radiological, they were clinically integrated, surgically integrated, integrated with ENT, integrated with GI surgery, integrated with emergencies. So if you are not able to see that integration, you might not find the questions, but they were there in the exam, and they are a very, very important way of passing the exam. Like if you're good at the radiology images, you get like good numbers, which will be giving you an edge in passing the exam. One T2 weighted axial MRI where they had marked some basal ganglia and some structures. Exactly what was the marking I could not get, but I'm sure you know it. We always discuss in the class that always remember how to mark caudate nucleus. The one in the red is the caudate nucleus here, and this is the thalami, this is your putamen, this is your globus pallidus. In between them you have the internal capsule, and this is like a sure shot question in any of the exams. Just keep it in mind for future exams as well. Radiological anatomy is an important theme for MCI screening in the current pattern, and sometimes they even have 2-3 questions. This time I could only recall one question which was based on radiological anatomy integration. And this is how the DAMS master plan looks like on eMedicos. This is the course I would recommend for you if you are preparing for the December exam. This is a DAMS pre-recorded course where all 19 subjects of the current year classes are pre-recorded with class test and with online test series and the DAMS question bank. Now, what happens here is that how these lectures are different from any other pre-recorded resources, because these are like actual recording of lectures which happened with the students. Now, what I have seen as a teacher is when I'm teaching students, I am actually, because of the biofeedback that you get from the students and because of the feedbacks that you get from the students in the chat box and the interactions, we tend to, explain things that the student is unable to understand, and we tend to elaborate better. Versus when I'm teaching on a studio, when I'm looking at a camera, sometimes, I may go a little faster. So these are actual classroom lectures which have been recorded. So you will love them. You will love the interactivity that happens in the class. And you will also know that, if while listening to a lecture, a doubt comes to you, you will find that somebody else might have also asked their same doubt. So that gets clarified in your mind, and the things stick to your exam more. And teachers are more interactive in a live class, and they are more, they always try to make the environment very light. You can attend live classes on eMedicos on Ultimate Live course. If you want a pre-recorded course, you have the DAMS master plan for you. And I also thought I'll give you a message to students who have given this year's exam, and this year was a good year to give the exam, although the year was difficult, the time was difficult, the pandemic was difficult, but at least the government had, the board gave you an exam which has good probability of passing. The standard topics, the usual topics were, asked more. Images were usual. No hi-fi syndromes. No factual questions. To say the difficult factual questions were not there. So I think, if you have done well, you can start thinking beyond. You can start thinking of your original dream. Now, what happens is when you are appearing for MCI screening, sometimes you keep thinking about कि MCI में क्या होगा, MCI में क्या होगा, and you start, forgetting your original dream. Your original dream when you came into the medical college was to become a great doctor, and so continue forward on the journey. Also, once you pass the MCI screening, also remind yourself that you have already done one MCQ exam, and it is always good to build on that knowledge at that stage itself. Some students after passing the MCI exam, they take few years of break, which I would actually recommend you to give PG entrance exam in continuity, so that this knowledge that you have right now can be added upon further. You can add more concepts, and you can appear for a more competitive exam for NEET PG. You can think about USMLE. You can start thinking beyond. Think of your original dream, and I think with this paper, your journey of MCI screening should come to an end, and I'm very hopeful. I am with all my wishes, my best wishes from the entire NAMS family are with you. I'm sure you will do well in the exam. You will pass with flying colors. You should be able to do very, very well. God bless you. Let us know if we can help you further in any manner. So you can contact me on any of my social media platforms, on Instagram, on Facebook. And what we have done is, this time we have also introduced a dedicated Telegram channel. We've just opened it for foreign medical graduate entrance students who are preparing for FMGE exam or MCI exam. So this Telegram group, I will leave the link on the description as well, is available on Telegram, and through this you can keep getting announcements and video links and the free video links that we keep pushing, so that you are in touch with the DAMS faculty, and any academic material that we share, you should be able to connect with us. I wish you all the best. It was pleasure to connect to all of you. I hope this video benefited you. Do let me know in the comment section how many out of the total you got them right, and if you want me to cover any other topic on this channel which you feel is important for foreign medical graduate exam, I'll be more than happy to work on that. I wish you all the best.